Amen. I'm glad to be in church.
Amen.
Tomorrow is holiday and y'all getting ready for the festivities, but don't jump the gun before you get here. Amen. Thank God for you.
Bless you, Pastor.
Anybody ever been faced with a dilemma?
Yes.
You ever been faced with a dilemma?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember a time when I would panic because I'd be in the back and I didn't hear the musicians. That ain't a dilemma for me no more. Because it's real simple. If you can't have church with who's here, you sure can't have church with who ain't here. Amen. So how many of you know? Maybe it was you back in the day when there wasn't no music at the party. You'd make your own music.
Amen. Amen. God do.
Amen.
On with the home.
We're praying for whatever it is that you need. All of us in here have needs.
Right. Right.
We have hopes. We have aspirations.
Yes.
Anybody in here other than me going through some physical stuff? Anybody here? Raise your hand. Keep your hands up because I'm doing this for a reason. I want you to look around to see, God just not picking on you. You understand that? And I'm dealing with some bronchial issues that I'm probably gonna have to end up going to the doctor behind, but it's sometimes, does your sickness sometimes of what you're dealing with sometimes affect your sleep?
Yes.
Affect your sleep, yeah. And I don't know, maybe it's a sign of the times. Because I'm quick to tell people all the time, y'all know we ain't 20 no more. How many know you ain't 20 no more? How many of you know your body remind you ain't 20 no more? Amen. But at this time, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take a moment and pray for that hand that went up across the building. Pray for this hand that was up here. And then pray for yourselves. Pray for your children. You got grandchildren. Pray for them. I'm praying for Lady Anderson this morning, who's on an airplane right now, trying to get back to Houston. I'm praying for that. Just take a moment and just do that now in the name of Jesus.
Yes.
We ask it in Jesus' name. We ask it in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Come on, give God a hand clap of praise. How many of you remember what we talked about on last Sunday? Does anybody remember? Yeah. We piggyback on that today. Because my hope today is that when you leave out of here today, you will have a little better understanding on how to deal with dilemmas when they come. Yeah. How to deal with dilemmas when they come. Let's look at John chapter 6. want you to look at, I want to start, I think, in verse 3 in St. John chapter 6. You there? St. John chapter 6, I want to look at verse, I want to start at verse 3. Listen to what it says. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was near. And when Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread that these may eat? And this he said to prove him or to test him, for he himself, look how important this is, for he himself knew what he was going to do.
Wow.
That's shouting news right there.
Amen. Amen.
And that's what I want to talk about for a few moments. I want to talk about dilemma. Dilemma. Anybody in here, you've been faced with a dilemma as of recent?
Yes, sir. Yes. Amen.
Greatest, thank you. Pastor, what are you talking about when you talk about dilemma? Well, I'm talking about you going to pay gas bill or you going to pay groceries. You're gonna pay mortgage, or you're going to have to wait till that check comes.
Right.
And just bite the bullet with the late fees for,
Amen.
yeah. How many of y'all know about late charges?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I've been faced with a dilemma, and all dilemmas are not financial.
That's right.
Some of us have had to deal with dilemmas. You might not say amen on this, but you might have to, you've been faced with a dilemma. Do I keep on taking care of mom? Or do I put her in a place?
Have mercy, Lord. Have mercy.
Anybody been there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a dilemma. Do I keep on investing in a sinking ship? Or is there hope after the Titanic? We have a situation here where there is a dilemma.
Yeah.
I looked up. Y'all know me, I like looking up words. We use that word dilemma, and we've heard that word, but what does it really mean? Listen to what Webster says. It is a situation in which a difficult choice has to be made. And it's normally between two or more alternatives, especially equally undesirable ones.
Wow.
So a lot of times when we are faced with the dilemma, we have to make a choice, Brian. We got to make a choice. But oftentimes the choices are not in my favor.
Have mercy, Lord.
Dilemma. You done something back in the day. Belt or extension cord? Listen to what it is. A situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two or more alternatives equally, especially equal, undesirable. Jesus was no stranger when it came to crowds. And I am so happy to see you all here at church today. There's some places I don't have to go.
Right.
Come on here, y'all.
That's right. That's
There are
right.
some places I choose not to go.
That's right. Yes, sir.
But I'm always happy about coming over here to church.
Amen. Amen.
And Jesus was no stranger to crowds. He was what we may call during these days and times, a people person.
Right.
How many of y'all know some people that they're just people persons, and And you don't mind being around them because they light up a dark room.
Yes.
Jesus was a people person. He was recognized by people, and his reputation preceded him wherever he went. And he performed miracles. Miracles like none other. People flocked to wherever he was because they knew that they were going to receive healing and compassion. That was not out of the ordinary for Jesus to do. Sometimes I think about how funeral homes will go out of business if Jesus was alive and walking around today.
That's right. That's right.
Hospitals would have to close doors because he was into healing and compassion.
Yes.
It was his choice to help people. And if you read the Bible, you know anything about Jesus, sometimes he would go out of his way to go and help people.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can I ask you a question? When's the last time you went out of your way to help somebody?
Have mercy, Lord.
It was his choice to help people.
Amen.
Often the Gospels remind us that he was moved with compassion. And out of the many miracles that Jesus performed, the feeding of the 5,000, watch this. The feeding of the 5,000 is the only miracle that Jesus did that is recorded by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Wow.
It's recorded in all four of the Gospels. That because if you think about it, it was a big deal to feed 5,000 men. These Gospels tell us that at least 37 miracles that Jesus performed in the company of people. In other words, people saw this with their own eyes. And these individuals, these people were witnesses. Y'all got to get this. They were witnesses to the supernatural occurrences that would change the recipient's life and even increase their faith.
Yes, Lord.
Miracles increase my faith.
Yes.
When was the last time you experienced a miracle? This morning when you looked in the mirror.
That's right. That's right.
Because if you really think about it, if you really put your life on the examining table, all of us in here has I remember that time experience. And if you only be honest with yourself, everybody in here has had what I call a near-death experience. Had you been in the wrong place 2 seconds earlier, you would probably be dead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But let me tell you, these miracles were not done to make Jesus puffed up in the eyes of the people.
Come on, right.
When we do stuff, especially when we do things in church, it ought not be for self-acclaim.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You don't get up here and sing for self-acclaim. You ain't breaking down no doors when you get up here and sing. You do it for the glory and honor of God, and I sing because I know he's been good to me.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah. Watch this. Watch this. The Bible records 83 different miracles in the Old Testament alone. And in the New Testament, it's about 80 miracles in the New Testament. And these miracles, they strengthen and increase our faith.
All right.
Have you ever experienced, and I'm sure we've experienced our own miracles. So how do you define a miracle? You know how I define a miracle, James L? I'm glad you asked. I define miracles when my bills outweigh my income.
Yes, sir. Wow. Yes, sir.
You ever been there? And the first thing you do when you on paper it looks like you got enough. But after you don't pay this, here come another. How many of y'all know about here come another?
Yes, sir.
And before you know it, sometimes you can't rely on your own paycheck. You got to start having a little faith in God and say, Lord, I need a miracle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A miracle A miracle is defined, watch this, it's a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable or easily explained by natural or scientific laws and is therefore considered to be a work of a divine agency.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you just put it like that, it's something that happened to my benefit that I could not explain.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, in other words, Big Mama used to say, I don't know how God does it, but all I know is just when I need him the most,
Yes, sir.
he steps right on in. I witnessed a miracle yesterday. I'm not yesterday, day before, I'm driving along and I got distracted. Doing something stupid, texting while driving. Don't look at me like that, you've done it too. And before I knew it, I had just got sidetracked into dialogue and realized if I had not gotten back on the street, I probably would have run off the road or run into somebody. But it is at that time when we do stupid stuff, God steps in and provides miracles.
Yes, sir. Right.
Yeah. It can also be explained as a development that brings a very welcome consequences.
Oh, yes.
I don't know, me personally, I don't believe in luck. Lillian, I don't believe in luck. People used to say if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. I don't believe in luck. I feel that God,
Yes, sir.
in his infinite wisdom, he guides and directs the very existence of our being.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you asked God, Lord, just guide me through this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And help me through this? One miracle, again, that defies and resides outside the box of ordinary is told again by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Last Sunday, we found out that the disciples were faced with a crisis. You ever been faced with a crisis?
Yeah.
What's a crisis that you probably been faced with recently? All right, let me give you one. I'm gonna make it till next payday.
That's right.
Anybody been there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I remember like it was yesterday, crisis that my mother and father was going through. You may can relate to this. Sitting at the dinner table, Lisa, I had just graduated from high school. My mother and father found out that my fees to go to Prairie View were going to be $900.
That's it.
From August to December. It was going to be, I'm talking about $900. Covered everything.
Everything.
And my mother and father looking like, how in the world we gonna find $900 to send this boy to school? I said, well, I ain't got to go to college. I just go get me a job and work. Well, that wasn't an option because they had a plan. And I want y'all to understand something. When we plan for our children,
Yes, sir.
we want that plan to succeed and go
Talk,
forward.
talk.
Because hands, we want what's best for our babies, even when they don't know what's best for themselves. We want what's best for our children. So all of us in here have been faced with a crisis and had to deal with dilemmas, but we who love God, we don't tuck tail and run. We know that the Lord will make a way somehow. Yeah, so last Sunday we found out that the disciples were faced with a crisis. And this crisis would eventually develop into a test. Hands. Didn't like taking tests in school? Hands. You know why you didn't like taking tests in school? Because you was dumb. Me too. But it's always some kid in there was just jumping and answering to take the test because it was not a big deal to them. And you want to talk about panic attack when it's 100 questions?
Teach today.
You on 17 and the teacher said 5 minutes.
Teach today. Define preaching. Dilemma.
The disciples are faced with a crisis, watch this, that eventually turns into a test.
Yes, sir.
The commercial used to come on.
This is just a test.
This is just a test. Had it been an actual emergency, you would have been notified, but we need to understand, sometimes let's not make tests more than what they really are.
Yes, sir.
We have a crisis that develops into a test. In other words, what he's saying, we have a crowd of people that are weary and hungry,
That's right.
and along with the test, there comes a dilemma.
Yes.
You ever wonder, let's be real, we all family, we all love each other. But you ever just pause and wonder how you gonna make it from paycheck to paycheck? You ever wonder
Yes, sir. Many times.
how you gonna survive? And this all you got? Let me talk some real folk over here. Broke before payday, on payday, day after payday, and want to know when the next payday comes. Now tell me that's not a crisis. Anybody here ever got a light bill shock?
Yes, sir.
So, when you're faced with a dilemma, often when you're faced with a dilemma, watch this, answers just don't pop up. They just don't pop up in your head. Because we contemplate how we're going to solve this. Your son, he doesn't know if he want to be Al or Alice.
Mercy, Lord. No.
Your daughter don't know if she want to be Bob or Barbara. It's a dilemma.
Yes.
But let me say something to you. You gotta love them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You might not love how they act, but listen, you gotta love them.
Yes, sir.
Because what does Pastor say all the time? Ain't none of our kids asked to be born.
Mercy.
And sometimes they don't, Sinclair, they don't go the road that we have traveled. We have traveled, and the road that we have chosen for them. Sometimes they have to go down their own bumpy road themselves.
That's right.
But when you're faced with a situation, a problem, a dilemma, sometimes you can't find answers.
That's right.
It is at that moment we become receptive to a miracle that puts our minds and our emotions at ease. It is at that time we need to remember, write this verse down somewhere, put it in your brain, Psalm 46:10, which reminds us when we're up against a dilemma, when we're up against a crisis, Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You ever had to take that advice?
Yeah.
And just be still sometimes because you're faced with a crisis, you're faced with a dilemma, you don't know what to do. Sometimes you just have to be still and let God do what God does.
Yeah. Teach today.
You ever had to put God on somebody?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all old enough to remember back in the day, the old folk used to say, I'm going to tell God on you.
Yes, sir.
We didn't know what that meant. So we must remember this, that when we're faced with a dilemma, we have a God on our side
Man.
that has been known to be, watch this, a dilemma dissolver.
Yes, sir.
When we look at this test, and I'm going to close out on this, when we look at this dilemma test, did the disciples pass But did they fail?
They kind of failed.
Nobody in here has ever passed every test that they've taken.
That's right. Right.
And I don't know about you, but sometimes, especially when I was in college, Sharonda, I would look at the person on the side of me who was taking a test, and I say, I don't know the answer to this. And they would say, me either.
Was that right?
Sometimes we look to other people for answers, and they just as dumb as we are. Dumb and dumb. It's not that we're dumb. We just don't have all the answers. And it is at that point in time we have to rely on someone who tells us to just be still
Yes, sir.
and know who I am.
Yes. Amen. Yes.
Hadn't that got you through some stuff?
All the way to right now.
So, did the disciples pass or fail? Well, Todd, last week we discovered that they did fail on their first suggestion. Because how are we going to feed all these people? First things, send them away. There are some tests you're just not going to be able to get rid of. You're going to have to take them. There's a test called growing up. You can't get around, you got to take it. There's a test called hard knocks. You can't get around it, you got to take it.
Amen.
Hands, growing up is hell. Paying bills is hell. Young kids, they ain't got a clue. They want them school clothes, them $250 tennis shoes, and they looking at you, and they don't want to hear mama check was short. They don't know what that means. So, when we are faced with a situation, sometimes we just have to rely back on Psalm 46 and 10. Be still and know that I am God. The test question. It was a simple question, William. How are we going to feed all these people? How are we going to make this happen? You did know, watch this, you did know that the test giver always has the key to the test.
Amen.
Oh my God. I hated math. Anybody, come on, go with me on that. I hated math. Wilson, hated math. Algebra. What was the point? What was the point of A plus B equaling C? What was the point? And I told the math teacher one time, I remember saying this, I said, now I don't need A plus B equals C to help me balance my checkbook. Because this is not going to be in there until this very day. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyway, the test giver always has the answers to the test.
Right.
So, when I was taking a test, when I had to do assignment at the math, you know what somebody told me? Why are you tripping? The answer's in the back of the book. I said, you kidding? The answers in the back of the book. And sometimes we need to read the book.
Right.
Because the answers to our problems. When we're going through a dilemma/crisis, there's an answer that says, be still and know that I am your God.
Yes, sir. Amen.
I'm going to close out on this.
Right.
what he was going to do. Now, I got to admit, sometimes I don't know
That's right.
how things are going to turn out. But I do know that God knows
That's right. That's right.
how things are going to turn out. We've lost loved ones,
Yes.
didn't know how things were going to turn out. But somehow God made it happen. Now, you ain't going to see me on this one.
Go ahead.
Been in some legal trouble.
That's right.
Been in legal trouble.
Yeah.
Been behind them balls. Didn't know how. Thank you for your honesty. I've been back there too, I ain't gonna lie. And I didn't know how things were gonna turn out. But I knew somehow God was gonna get me through it.
That's right.
And 2 words that you hear, that's a blessing to your soul. Case dismissed. Anybody up in there? Want to bless your spirit?
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir.
The test giver never administers the test in hopes that the student is going to fail.
Go ahead, brother.
No teacher gives you tests hoping you're going to fail. But the test is given to see what you have learned.
That's right.
Every day, if not every other day, we face with a test.
That's right.
Some of y'all had a test like this on your job. You know a Negro don't like you. And that old you, that old you, won't tell him what to do. But that new you, praise for that spirit. That new you won't let you get on that level ever again in life. That's your old spirit. Now you handle things differently.
Amen.
Because sometimes you have to go off somewhere and just woosah and
Come
say,
on.
be still and know who God is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Aren't you glad you don't live like that no more?
Yeah.
Jesus knew. He knew that those people would not make it back into the villages. He knew that. He asked Philip, and I'm closing on this. He asked Philip, one of his disciples. Let me tell you what Philip does. He's like a lot of us. He start pocket patting. You knew you ain't had nothing in your pocket when you start patting. I ain't gonna call them names, but a friend of mine did us like that one time. You ever been up? It's been like 3 of y'all, and one nigga ain't got no money. And when it's time when the bill will come. So the other partner of mine that had money, once said, well, I ain't got no money. He said, well, it's an ATM machine right over there. He said to me, he said, Caleb, as long as you black, don't you ever invite that Negro to eat with us. I said, say less. But sometimes people think, and I've been guilty of this, a lot of times people think that money solves all problems. But there are just some things, and I'm closing, that money just can't buy.
That's right.
Money would not have done them any good out there.
No.
And then Philip, he does the math and realized that dollars and cents ain't gonna add up to the number of people that were already out there.
That's right.
I'm closing. You ever had to operate in the land of enough?
Yes, sir.
Listen. You ever had to operate in the land of enough. There's two different places in the land of enough. Not enough and just enough. You ever had to operate
Yes, sir.
in the land of just enough
Yes.
and not enough?
Yes.
Well, when I'm faced with a dilemma and I no longer go in panic mode, because I find myself repeating there over in Philippians chapter 4, you don't have to go there, around about the 19th verse. It starts off with the word but. And I told you all that but is a conjunction
Right.
that puts two thoughts together.
Right.
A lot of times what goes before the but sometimes may be greater than what comes after, or
Right.
vice versa.
Right.
But the reason why I don't panic anymore about situations and crisis is because Philippians chapter 4, I think it's around about the 19th verse, starts with the word but.
Right.
And when we see but in the Bible, a lot of times it signifies that God's getting ready to do something
Amen.
and take control of a situation.
Amen.
Think about where you would be, but God intervened.
Yes.
It says, but my God shall supply, not two or three, but somebody who knows that he will supply all your needs. I don't see it right now, but sometimes it happens just when you least expect it.
That's right.
It says he will supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory.
Yes, sir.
So I need you to stand now because we need to take a test. Some may say it's just a pop quiz. But a test is going to come your way. I'm not a prophet, I'm just telling you what old age does. A test is going to come your way. And you're going to have to take it. Ain't no way to get around it. Because some people say, teachers say, I'm going to give this test tomorrow. And they might say something crazy like, well, I ain't going to be here tomorrow. It'll be here waiting on you when you come. Sometimes we feel like we can get around it. But there's no getting around it. Life is a test, y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we are getting older. And there's some things, don't get me wrong, it's some things that go along with getting older.
Yes, sir.
I'm over there at Mother Anderson's, Mother Anderson, she just fading away. Just getting smaller and smaller every time I see her. Y'all probably wouldn't even recognize it now if you saw her. But I got sense enough to know that comes with getting older.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And she feels that she has to apologize to me because for some reason she thinks it's a bother for me to come and do stuff for her.
No. Keep on
Let me go on your street for a minute. Those of you that remember my father, he was always a big, strong man. And I saw him deteriorate. You know when you grow up, when you gotta change your parents' diaper. Some of y'all ain't never been there.
Sir.
That's a grow up there.
Yeah. Over there.
And Mother Anderson says to me, she says, if I could do it myself, I wouldn't ask. But she did it herself for years. But then it comes to a point where we're faced with tests of getting older. Every day you look in the mirror. We're getting older.
Yes, sir. Yes, Lord.
We're changing. Things starting to hurt. Sometimes it's a chore just to get out of bed and walk and take a step because it hurts. But we have to be up for the test.
Yes, sir.
A dilemma
Amen.
Every day.
every day. So whatever your test is, you know, Junior, you know, Clarence, you know what your test is. Pat Ross, you know what your test is. When you got a test, Helen, we got tests. Sandra, tests. You can't not take it.
That's right. That's right.
You gotta ask God for the answers.
Yes, sir.
Your kid
Yes, Lord.
just acting a nut. That's a test.
Yes, sir.
But God
God.
shall supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory. Whatever your test is, ask God right now
Yes, sir.
to not only give you the answers, but help you with it. Because all of us in here, as we get older, we're going to have to pay time.
Amen.
You're going to have to pay time. But then I pray that as I live to get older, if it's left up to me, I don't want to be a burden to anybody.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I want to be able to dress myself, groom myself. Come on here, son.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to be a burden.
Yes.
And sometimes we get put in a place where we have to depend on other people.
Right, right.
But if it's left up to us, we want to have a sound mind in our old age.
Teach. Yes, sir. Teach.
We want to be able to groom ourselves.
Yes.
Walk without a walker.
Come on, please.
And all we can do is ask God,
Yes, sir.
God, help me pass this
In the
test.
name of Jesus.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. I'm done. God bless you. And may God keep you. We're going to get ready to do our communion now.